Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, welcome to the podcast. How are you? Have you been thinking of some gifts to give your future body? I hope so. Today, we are going to talk about rules. How do you feel about that word? Does it make you cringe? I was listening to a functional medicine podcast the other day where someone said something to one of the hosts and he said, "When you said that, it made my butthole clench." And I was like, what? So, is that how you feel about rules? Does it bring out your inner rebel? Or are you one of those people who likes to have rules to follow? I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm one of those people. Well, some of the time. To a certain extent, I like having a clearly defined path with black and white do's and don'ts. And of course, it all depends on the context and the situation. I definitely had my share of hating and avoiding rules as a kid. Practicing the piano always comes to mind as the rule of my childhood that I thought was the most tyrannical oppression of my freedom. Poor me, what a hard life. I'd say that in general, most people are not big fans of rules. I very much doubt that there are many people walking around thinking, if only I had more rules to follow. There are even lots of quotes about breaking rules like, "Life is short, break the rules," and "If you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun." I think the main thing that gets under our skin is that we feel like rules constrain our personal freedom. I definitely felt that way about the piano practicing rule I had as a kid. Nobody likes to have their sense of autonomy and personal choice restricted, and a lot of people feel like rules also hinder their creativity and personal expression. We definitely don't like being micromanaged or not trusted or treated like irresponsible children. We hate all of that, and on top of those things, rules are usually accompanied by penalties for lack of compliance, which can make them seem even worse. Nevertheless, if we are convinced that a rule exists for the common good, including our own, we will obey it. If we understand what the rule is there for and we agree with the objective the rule is in place to support, we're much more likely to willingly obey. Despite our general disdain for rules, we all understand that there is a benefit to having them. Imagine living in a world with no rules. I'm not creative enough to even be able to imagine there being no rules whatsoever, like the natural rules of physics and chemistry. If electrons didn't orbit nuclei, if every action didn't have an equal and opposite reaction, if water and oil did mix, and Britney Spears made good life decisions, that's all pretty much unimaginable. But what about just rules made by humans? Without them, we wouldn't be able to intelligently communicate with one another. There would be no music, no sports, and no games. Chaos and anarchy would abound. As a fastidious rule follower, I am uneasy just thinking about it. We need some rules. In fact, we want some rules. As long as we agree with the objective the rule is there to reinforce. But rules are boring, right? Even the quote I read at the beginning said, "If you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun." That's from Katharine Hepburn. But what if that didn't have to be the case? What if rules could be awesome? Dun, dun, dun! When you have a goal, like a health goal, there are a lot of factors that can boost your probability of success, like having it be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Having a strong why, and believing in your ability to achieve it. Not to mention working with a coach, which can be extremely beneficial. Hint, hint. What I would like to suggest to you today that I think will help you achieve your goal is to consider making yourself some rules. And remember, rules can be awesome. In fact, I would suggest that you be sure not to make any non-awesome rules. Think about a health goal you have for yourself. If you have a lot of things you want to work on, just pick one. What one thing would move the needle in multiple areas of your life? What do you think would have the most positive long-term effect on your health span? What feels most compelling to you? You got it? For a while, like decades really, I had been wanting to improve my body composition, like my lean mass to body fat percentage ratio, because I knew that a higher body fat percentage correlates with more inflammation and inflammaging and all the unpleasant effects and diseases that come over time with that. I really wanted to make it happen. And I feel like I know some stuff. I have a doctorate degree in a healthcare field. I know what's healthy to eat and which exercises are best. I'm super into learning about that kind of stuff. I know the science behind a lot of biohacks, and I understand the places where mainstream guidelines have it all wrong. The knowledge and interest were there for me, but I just couldn't make it work. It seemed impossible, like a mystery I couldn't figure out. It was very frustrating and disheartening. And I think that disquietude within myself bled out into other areas of my life. Maybe you can relate. One of the things that really helped me turn things around and be able to succeed for the first time was establishing, you guessed it, some rules. But not just any rules, awesome rules. By the way, the whole time I was writing this episode, I had Dua Lipa running in my head on repeat. Maybe that'll be stuck in your head now too. You're welcome. I'll share the rules that worked for me for my fat loss goal, but I'm me and you're you, so honor yourself and choose rules that fit your personality and your goal. They'll be different, but I hope to give you some ideas that might help get the wheels turning. My first rule was an idea I got from Brooke Castillo that she used to build her business, which was that I was only going to do it if it was fun. As I came up with ideas that I thought might contribute to my goal, like changing up my normal meals, doing intermittent fasting, weighing myself, meal prepping, saying no to unexpected treats, daily food logging, etc., if I couldn't make it fun, it was out the door. I wasn't sure how it would work, but I stuck to it and it served me really well. I could feel like in my body when I was starting to slip into feeling deprived or resentful or ashamed, and I would remind myself that no, I'm only doing this if it's fun. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. I could either directly generate a feeling of fun by thinking a different thought, or I could make the task a game. Maybe I'd try to beat my high score. Or I'd think of a way to make it fun, like listening to a silly romantic comedy type book while doing my meal prepping, which Audible has a couple of really good free originals that have helped me enjoy this process, so thank you, Cara Bastone. This ended up being an awesome rule to help me discover how much funner it is to do something hard than to give in to an impulse. It seems like it would be a drag to quote unquote have to say no to someone offering me a treat, so I decided if it wasn't fun, I wasn't going to say no. And what I discovered was that it's way more fun to do what you told yourself you would do and build a trusting relationship with yourself than it is to taste something sweet for 5 seconds. In fact, I would say that the relationship you build with yourself has a sweetness that lasts even longer and is way more fun. My second rule was that I would only do things out of love for myself, not hate or shame or comparison with anyone else. Even though I was trying to change my body's composition, I would still love it and appreciate it exactly the way it was. I heard a quote a long time ago that said, exercise because you love your body, not because you hate it. And I've always remembered that for some reason, and it's one of the few things I've been pretty good at. I once heard Brene Brown say that she's done enough mental work that she loves her body so much she's dangerous. That's cute. I'm not quite there, but I feel like I started from an okay headspace in terms of self-love. But this rule helped me remember to stay in a place of self-love for who I am as I am now, and it helped me in other ways too. It helped me discover that rather than a punishment, it actually feels more loving and respectful to be acquainted with portion sizes instead of eating mindlessly out of a bag. It feels more loving to feed your body nutrient-dense vegetables than some kind of processed poison. and it feels more loving to take the time to set yourself up for success by planning and preparing well thought out meals before you're hungry or hangry or rushed. Even feeling hungry during my 16-hour daily fasts was done as a kind of gift I was giving my body because I respected it and was looking forward to some autophagy. This turned out to be a great rule for me to successfully make that mind flip from feeling like because I wasn't where I wanted to be, I deserved to endure some kind of agonizing undertaking of denial, to realizing that actually, I deserve the best. I am worth the extra time and effort required to create a plan that ensures success. And honoring that plan is the most loving thing I can do for myself. It's a higher form of self-care that actually feels more respectful than indulging in what on the surface seems like the more enjoyable option. My third and final rule was that I would only implement changes that I was 100% willing to do for the rest of my life. I thought that there was a good chance that this might make things take longer, but I was fine with that because I wanted a sustainable, healthy life change. I actually preferred that it be a slow process because that felt more permanent to me. As I considered options like paleo, keto, OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, and all the plethora of advice that's out there, I was only going to do it if I was willing to do it for the rest of my life. I might choose later not to continue if I felt like it wasn't serving me, but I was only going to start with the intention to do it forever. Could I be happy eating a few different snacks than my family on car road trips for the rest of my life? Certainly. Could I fast for 16 hours a day most of the days for the rest of my life? Yes, definitely. Could I implement a perfectly orchestrated and precisely planned, clean, on and off cyclic keto, fully organic diet that excludes all vegetable oils and includes occasional protein fasting days for mTOR regulation? Not yet, but someday I will make it happen. Baby steps. This was actually the rule that helped me do two of the things that I knew I needed to do but was most resistant to. I hated the idea of weighing myself every day, and I despised the idea of logging all my food every day. It sounded like torture, which is why I had only been able to do it in very short bursts in the past. But I knew that I wanted to do something different than what I had been doing for the past 20 years, because what I had been doing hadn't gotten me the results I wanted. And when I really thought about it, I realized that I could, in fact, quite easily weigh myself every morning and log my food every day for the rest of my life. In fact, making it a daily maintenance item like brushing my teeth or taking a shower or doing the dishes actually helped remove some of the drama behind what I was afraid to see in those numbers. There would never be a question about whether I was, quote, ready to see what the scale would say that day, or how I would ever find the time to remember and write down everything I ate in a day. You just do it, and the numbers are just data. There's no drama in math and no drama in everyday tasks like brushing your teeth. Now, none of this is to say that I'm perfect in all of these things or that my body composition is exactly where I ultimately want it to be yet, but I'm happy that these 3 rules helped me make some progress and finally get some momentum and confidence in this area. And more than that, it made the process actually enjoyable. I was pleased when I went in for my second DEXA body scan and found out that these rules helped me to simultaneously gain 2 pounds of muscle and lose 19 pounds of fat. Now, what about you? It's your turn. What are you working on? And what simple rule could help you get some traction? And more importantly, enjoy the journey. If you're traditionally a rule hater, how might you use that to help you come up with an awesome rule? Maybe you'll make a rule not to agree to anything that feels like it constrains your freedom. You could make a rule to be spontaneous. How would that work? Maybe you'll make a rule to create some steps and focus solely on the process and not at all on the results. You could start a rule to sincerely celebrate your wins every day, no matter how small those wins are. I think that could be a really good one. You could make a consistency rule and do something every single day, but allow that one thing to be infinitesimally tiny. Maybe you could have a rule that no matter what, you will not compare yourself with anyone else. That could be good too. Just remember that my rule for your rule is that it has to be awesome. Nothing that feels like a drag and no butthole clenching. I would love to hear what rules you come up with or what has worked well for you in the past. Come join my free Facebook group, the Health Courage Collective, and share your thoughts. We can all lift one another and rise together. Next week, we'll be talking about progesterone. Until then, don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.